What's up, everyone? Welcome to episode number 2 of the Z-Watch Show. Today we're going to be going over a little bit about the Big Ten rankings. I told you in the last episode I'd give you a little rundown of the conference. Again, not that much in depth, but more in depth than it was for sure last episode. And then not only the Big Ten review, but we would be doing the fantasy football, kind of who to avoid and who to get. And then as well as I just watched the Naked Gun movie, and I'll give you guys a review on that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
It's time for the Z-Watch Show. It's the Z-Watch Show. It's the Z-Watch Show. Man, this guy knows ball. He knows everything. It's time for the Z-Watch Show.
Alright, well, to start off in the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten, again, it's going to be another powerhouse year for them. I think they're going to have, honestly, besides Texas, I don't really see another team that's going to stop the Big Ten from winning its third straight national championship. I know Michigan won it 2 years ago, and then Ohio State, even though some would say that Michigan's still the reigning national defending champs, because if you want to be the man, you got to beat the man, which Ohio State did not. Ohio State last year only completed one out of its 3 goals. They didn't win a Big Ten championship. They didn't beat Michigan. All they did was win a national championship, which honestly was an easier road. All they did was beat Tennessee. They beat Texas in a close game. I thought Quinn Ewers didn't play that well. So other than that, but let's get into it. But like I said, I think the Big Ten is going to win their third straight national championship. Now, over in the Big Ten, as we can see, we can kind of put like these 4 teams kind of in the bottom of the Big Ten. I expect these teams to have maybe 4 to 5 wins max. If they have more than 5 wins, I don't see any of these teams making a bowl game, unfortunately. I think all of their odds to win the Big Ten are plus 26,000 or more, which is, I don't care how much of a long shot, you think some teams have. They simply don't. They don't have a chance. These teams aren't making a bowl game. And these 4 teams are going to be Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, and Northwestern. If any of your teams have these teams on their schedule besides maybe the non-conference games, I expect you guys to have easy wins against those teams. Now, the teams that I could see would be fighting for at least kind of a bowl game would be, at first, we have Minnesota. Again, they're kind of relying on a redshirt, freshman this year, and Drake Lindsay. Again, not much about Minnesota. Again, I don't think personally Minnesota has really a good chance. There's going to be no rowing of the boat. None of the rowing of the boat this year. None at all. They don't have to play Penn State. They don't have to play Michigan. They don't have to play Illinois, which is huge. But they do have to play Ohio State, and they do have to play Oregon. And those are just going to be 2 games where they're just going to get man-slaughtered. And even that, I think Wisconsin's going to beat them. You can hear my roommate in the shower, too. That's the type of quality studio we have here at the Z-Watch Show. But yeah, anyways, that's probably enough about Minnesota for the Big Ten. Now, on to the Wisconsin Badgers. Again, Wisconsin, I don't think they're going to be a terrible team. But in terms of the schedule that they have to play, they're not going to be good enough to make a bowl game, unfortunately. Honestly, with this schedule, you got Alabama in a non-conference game. You still have to play Michigan, you have to play Iowa, you have to play Ohio State, you have to play Oregon, you have to play Indiana, and you have to play Illinois. And Washington, who's not going to be super bad, not going to be terrible. In the entire Big Ten schedule, I think the only games where you can look at and be like, that should be a win is probably Maryland, and Wisconsin's going to be at the same level as them. Maryland's not that much far below Wisconsin. So I think under Luke Fickell, unfortunately, I do like him as a head coach, but I think this is going to be his worst year yet, at least in terms of record-wise. Even that last game against Minnesota, no matter how bad or good these teams are, that game always seems, it's a rivalry game, and you never know what's going to happen in that last week. Again, I'm a Michigan fan, even just bringing it up from last year. You can even just look at Ohio State, for example. They were about 20.5-point favorites against Michigan in Columbus, too, and just got annihilated by Michigan's defense. Final score 13-10. But yeah, unfortunately for Wisconsin, they're going to have a couple good transfers in there. Again, I like Luke Fickell, but I'm from Wisconsin. But the schedule's kind of brutal for them, and I don't see them as well winning a bowl game. If I was a betting man, I don't know the over-under total of their team total, but I would assume it's probably relative to that 6.5, maybe 5.5. I would definitely bet the under there. The next team in our list is, Michigan's little brother. The little brothers. They have not been good since I believe that 2021 season when they had, Kenneth Walker the third. Oh wow, the Packers wide receiver. Who I can't even think of. That's embarrassing. But they had a good little team in 2021. They choked. They definitely should have won the Big Ten that year. That was the year. I think. Who did Michigan State? Michigan State lost because they lost to Ohio State and they lost to some team they should have won. And Michigan shouldn't have even been in that type of situation. It should have been Michigan State that won the Big Ten that year. But anyways, I mean, again, a same thing with Wisconsin. No, not same thing. The same thing in terms of I don't see them making a bowl game. Now their schedule is going to be relatively easier. I could definitely even see them lose to either Western Michigan or Boston College. I don't see them losing to Youngstown State, so I'd expect them to come into conference play at 2-1. To be honest, they could even come in at 1-2 if they're really that bad. Again, last year, in the last, I believe I have it right here, they only scored more than 17 points once in their final 5 games. And again, just they didn't really hit any big news with the transfer portal. Nothing really changed. Again, I don't see Michigan State even making it to a bowl game. I mean, they got USC first Big Ten game. Nebraska, who I think is going to be better this year. Yeah, again, Michigan State is just going to continue their train of struggling, which is unfortunate because I do like when the Sparties are good. It makes that rivalry more fun for me as a Michigan fan. Now, for the next team in the Big Ten, I'm going in order of, I kind of looked up who would be like the best odds to win the Big Ten championship, I guess. I guess I went in that order too. So that's kind of why I did choose this order, except for the end, because obviously I got to save the best team for last, which is not the best team odd-wise. But anywho, Washington's got one of the best returning quarterbacks in the conference in Desmond Williams. I mean, I know, again, he showed flashes of greatness. I think he finished third. You could argue that he was a top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten last year. That is not a crazy argument at all. I know a lot of his issues are that he did take a lot of sacks last year, which is kind of drive killers. You can't be taking those sacks. I think he definitely did take the most amount of sacks as any quarterback in the Big Ten. That's just, if you're a team on Washington, where you're just trying to make a bowl, they're not going to get back to their 2014 self with Michael Penix when they were, in my opinion, the second best team the entire year. I know a lot of people thought Michigan was going to kill them in the national championship game, which they kind of did, but Washington was the second best team that year. But they're not going to return to that glory at all. I mean, they do have a lot of transfers. Their coach, Jed Fish, again, from Arizona. He had Arizona humming a few years ago. I truly believe that Washington's going to make a bowl game. I mean, their schedule not going to be that crazy. Their non-conference schedule. None of these teams outside of, I believe, Ohio State and Wisconsin have any non-conference games that are threatening, especially for bowl-like teams, besides Michigan, Oklahoma, I guess. But yeah, I mean, looking at Washington's schedule here, nothing too crazy. I mean, their hardest games are going to be against Ohio State, Michigan, and Illinois. The rest of their Big Ten games are kind of against teams they should beat, teams that they should beat. And I totally forgot about Oregon at the end too. That didn't pop up. So, I mean, I think 7-5 is definitely in the picture. Ideally, 8-4 if they can win one of the big games. 9-3. But I would predict Washington to finish the season 7-5. They're definitely going to lose against either Wisconsin, UCLA, just a Big Ten loss, something like that. But 7-5 for Washington. Mark it, stamp it, bet on it. Do whatever you want with that information. Now we move on to the Iowa Hawkeyes. And I'm not going to lie. My favorite FCS team, DSU, they got a dog. They got a dog in Mark Gronowski. He's a winner. He's a bona fide winner. I know they didn't win a national championship last year. I know North Dakota State did, but he's a winner. I believe he's won 2 national championships. He's played against Iowa. Granted, in that game, I believe the final score was 7-5. So there wasn't much offense, but against that Iowa defense with the talent he had at NDSU, nothing to be ashamed of. I mean, we're going to find out if he can play big time football, week 2 against Iowa State. But again, Iowa, they're going to make a bowl. They're not going to, squeak in as a, Big Ten, the Big Ten championship game like they have in years past. That's not going to happen. With the new format, that just won't happen again, in my opinion. Again, with their schedule, I believe Iowa State's going to be ranked in the top 25 when they go. I believe, they're going to Iowa State to play. But yeah, anyways, in the Big Ten, 2 toughest games are Penn State and Oregon. The rest of those games are very, 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 very winnable for Iowa. They could potentially go 10-2, but I know Mark Gronowski, like I said, he is a winner. I would assume 9-3. 9-3 would be safe. 8-4 would be if you're just thinking Iowa State's going to beat them. If they beat Iowa State, though, they will finish 9-3. And their defense, special teams is always going to be there for Iowa, of course. So now we go down to USC. USC, I don't think it's crazy to say that Lincoln Riley's kind of on the hot seat there. That is a program that historically is used to winning. You got to win. You got to win there. He's 15-13 in his last 28 games. That's not going to cut it. I think they're going to stick with their quarterback, Jaden. I forgot how you pronounce his name. Jaden Marari. Again, he was just solid but not great last year. Solid but not great. He's good. I mean, I don't think if USC doesn't crack the top, if they don't finish in the top 25, I think people in LA are calling for Lincoln Riley's head. I mean, he went there to kind of be the next Pete Carroll there, and he just hasn't shown up like that. Their non-conference schedule, very, 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 very weak. They got Missouri State, Georgia Southern, they got Purdue, Michigan State, and then they had 3 games. I'd even say 4 games where it's like they better step up. They got Illinois, Michigan, Notre Dame, Nebraska. All back to back to back to back to back. 1 bye week in between Notre Dame and Nebraska. So that 4-game stretch is going to be the most important stretch of their season. Again, if USC does not crack the top 25 at all this season, I think definitely people are going to be calling for their heads. They should start off the season 4-0, so I believe they're going to crack top 25 after week 4, but yeah, I guess you won't find out about this USC team until their 5th game against Illinois. That's basically all it really is. Now the next team in the Big Ten that's going to be Nebraska. I am personally very high in Nebraska this year. I like the quarterback. I like the Patrick Mahomes impersonator. I like Nebraska. I like Matt Rhule. I love what he did at Baylor years ago. I know he didn't have that much success as an NFL coach, but he was coaching the Carolina Panthers, who have sucked since 2016, whenever they made the Super Bowl last. But not only that, Nebraska, they have a weak schedule. A weak schedule. I know Cincinnati, they have Cincinnati, which if they don't beat Cincinnati, forget everything I'm going to say. But they have Cincinnati, Akron, Houston Christian. Their first test is going to be their first Big Ten game against Michigan. That's also Michigan's Big Ten test as well. That game's going to kind of decide the fate of both teams, I would say. Even if Nebraska ends up losing that game by less than a touchdown or a touchdown or less, I still think they can make the playoffs. If they get blown out by Michigan, I think it's kind of a wrap on their season. They're going to make a bowl game for sure. This is a team where their odds to make a bowl game have to be insane. If those odds are anywhere close to 50-50, you hammer them. That's how you pay your rent or mortgage this year. But then they rattle off games against Michigan State, Maryland, Minnesota, Northwestern, USC is very winnable, UCLA, and then the last 2 games are going to be Penn State and Iowa. So if they can win one of those last 2 games and finish the season 10-2, this is the new Indiana team for me with the Big Ten. I don't think they're going to have an argument to make the playoffs. I don't think a week 10-2 team will be able to make the playoffs this year with how actually, that's a lie. I feel like a week 10-2 team can. But if they go 9-3, they're definitely out of the playoffs. But I could definitely see this Nebraska team sneaking in to the college football playoffs. I think it's 9 wins easily. Yeah, 8-9 wins easily. Again, I think this is their huge step. This is kind of where everywhere that Matt Rhule has been in year 3, his record has increased significantly. That's when he starts winning games. That's when Nebraska's a powerhouse too. They got the money. They got it all. Again, good season. Now for Indiana, kind of last year's version of this year's Nebraska. I think Indiana, although their schedule, again, is not that terrifying, they're going to take a step back. I mean, they only have 8 starters returning. Again, Indiana last year kind of relied on the transfer portal with Coach Cigarette, putting all of his players from JMU. But, I mean, they got the Mendoza kid at quarterback from Cal, who's pretty good. I mean, they got probably the weakest non-conference schedule out of any Big Ten team. They got Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, Indiana State. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think any of those teams are FBS teams. So, yeah, Coach Sig, they're going to start 3-0. I think they're ranked in the coaches poll right now. I believe we went over that. They are, which they're going to stay there. They're going to stay in the top 25. They got 3 tough games right off the Big Ten, and I think this is when kind of this schedule and this season kind of proves my predictions right with Indiana. They're going to lose against Illinois. They're going to lose against Iowa. They're going to lose against Oregon. They're going to be 3-3. People are going to be wondering, was last year a fluke? Which I think Indiana just got bailed out by an easy schedule. I mean, I know they played Notre Dame tough-ish last year. Their defense was very good last year. Their defense did hold on, even though Notre Dame wasn't a high-powered offensive team. I mean, Riley Leonard just couldn't really throw the ball as well as, you want him to, even though he's an NFL quarterback. So I guess who am I to say? But I think they start the Big Ten schedule 0-3, and then they just rattle off some wins against Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, and then they have to play Penn State. And I think that Wisconsin game, that second to last game of the season is going to be pretty close too. I would not be shocked if at this point in the season Wisconsin and Indiana have the same exact record, and that game kind of determines who goes to a bowl game and who doesn't. I think Indiana's playing for a bowl game this year. They're playing for an 8-4 season would be a success for this Indiana team. They would be taking a step back, but they would still be a team that's like, all right, we're respectable, we're good, we didn't have to play. We have to play Michigan, Ohio State, which, although Penn State and Oregon are probably going to be 2 of the best teams in the conference this year, you could argue the 2 best teams in the conference this year. Those are still the 2 big bad bullies of the Big Ten. All right, on to a team that a lot of people are high on this year. A lot of people are high on, and they say the way they ended the season last year, winning most of their games, as well as beating South Carolina, and that when the two coaches got in the fight. Oh my God, why can't I think? This is why it's episode 2 right here, because I can't fucking think of the coaches' names. I'll be dialed once the season starts. But yeah, they have a decent non-conference schedule. I mean, week 1, that game's, all I see right here is tickets as low as $7. There's a reason for that, because they are playing Western Illinois, who is one of the worst teams in FCS. They're not good at all. I actually sent my film to them. I looked up worst FCS schools and sent my film to them. I didn't get a call back, but hey, they're still bad. They got Duke week 2. Duke, decentish football program now. Decentish. So if they, I think if they beat Duke by 2 touchdowns or more, by 13 or more, I think people will take Illinois seriously. Western Michigan, never a bad team out of the MAC. And then, that first game, that Indiana-Illinois game, is kind of going to be like, when you look back at this episode, kind of what was I proven right or wrong? Because if Indiana wins, the last 5 minutes of me talking just kind of went to shit. Just kind of went to bed. And I don't like that at all. But they do. They got Indiana. They got USC. That's 2 games where if they're not ready to play and they don't show up, those are 2 games where those definitely could be losses. Again, they should be win with how hyped they are coming into the season. I believe they're going to be produced. So they're going to go 6-0. It's going to be a home game. I honestly think, again, I don't think, we're going to get to this later with Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State's going to come into this game undefeated. But if they are undefeated against undefeated Ohio State, that is a game day. That's a college game day game right there. I don't know who else plays October 11th. Could be obviously some big SEC games. But that's kind of the nut up or shut up game for Illinois. And then even the rest of the schedule after Ohio State, those are all games that Illinois should win. All games that Illinois should win. Illinois, actually looking at the schedule, I think Illinois has a chance to go undefeated. I mean, it's gonna. Odds of it are pretty slim due to the fact they have to play Ohio State. And again, even though I'm low on Indiana this year, Indiana, USC, Washington aren't bad teams. I mean, after Ohio State, they have Washington, Rutgers, Maryland, Wisconsin, Northwestern. Best team out of that bunch is Washington, and they're not even. I mean, I gotta flip the page to go find them. You know, I gotta go back to the original page. So it's gonna be tough for me not to put Illinois at 11-2, 11-1, 10-2. They're making the playoffs. Illinois. Whatever the odds are to win the playoffs, if it's good odds, I'm going to look it up. If they're good odds, you take Illinois to make the playoffs for sure this year. I mean, they got the best edge rusher in the Big Ten, and Gabe Jukas. They got their quarterback back. They got their quarterback, Luke, who played really good last season, really reliable, and essentially all of the big boys are returning. I know they lost a lot of skill positions, but those are easily, you can rekindle those. It's more the big boys, especially in the Big Ten. Big boys are back. Big boys are back. Illinois is going to make the college football playoffs this year, just not only due to how good they're going to be, but also the style of football they play, and on top of that, just overall they probably have besides Nebraska, or they have probably the easiest Big Ten schedule. I'm going to put their schedule easier than Nebraska. Now, even with that being said, we still have 4 more teams in the Big Ten. So it's tough for me to say. I think we could see a year where 5 Big Ten teams make kind of the playoffs. I know I'm very high on Michigan this year. They can definitely be one of the teams to be left out. I think Illinois, just relatively to how easy of the schedule they're going to be. I'll let you talk about that after I review all the teams. But anyways, we got Oregon next, who again doesn't have that much of a tough, non-conference schedule. They got Oklahoma State, who's always okay. Oregon State, that's going to be a rivalry game. I still wish that was the last game of the season. I used to love watching that game at fucking 11 p.m. at night, Pac-12 after dark. Nothing better than that. But yeah, I mean, Oregon State, again, Dante Moore, he's going to be brand new. He's brand new. We haven't seen much of him, so I'm at UCLA, and he got to back up Dylan Gabriel for a year, which I like that choice by the young man. That's smart. Oregon's got an easy schedule this year. Their toughest opponent, again, that Penn State game, kind of exactly what I'm talking about with Penn State. That's probably college game day. I believe Penn State's the best team in this conference still, even though that's my next team to talk about. Again, Oregon, they have a veteran receiving core, a lot of transfers. Again, with the schedule, it's going to be tough. It's tough for me not to say that Oregon's going to finish the season 11-1. I think they're going to lose against Penn State. I really do. And after Penn State, they're avoiding Illinois, they're avoiding Ohio State, they're avoiding Michigan, and they're avoiding Nebraska. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 6 out of the top 7 teams they don't have. 5 out of the 7 top teams they don't have to play. It's gonna be tough. I mean, 10-2. If Oregon finishes less than 10-2. I think that's a bust of a season. That means either Dante Moore got hurt. He's one of the Heisman favorites too. Not super high out there, but I think at least top 10. He's one of the Heisman favorites, and unless he gets hurt or he's just not the guy, that is the only way I could see Oregon not getting 10-2 and being a fringe playoff team. Again, basically the season's going to be up to Dante Moore, essentially. And now we go over to Penn State, who, like I said, I believe Penn State's going to be the best team coming out of the Big Ten. This is their year. Again, I kind of feel like they're on the trajectory of those Michigan teams where we kept losing the big game. We just couldn't get over that hump. And then you get over the hump a little bit, and a little bit. You have Drew Aller there, who is, I'm not going to argue top 3, who's a top 5 quarterback returning. You could even add Arch in there. Top 5 quarterback returning. You have Jim Knowles, who, as much as I hate to admit it, had that Ohio State defense playing at an absolute elite level the entire season. He went to Penn State. He's going to have that defense buzzing. They have probably, again, I want to say the best, at least top 3, dual two running backs returning both for their senior year. I think besides Texas is the best team in college football. I know they have, at least the coaches poll have Ohio State ranked. I bet the AP poll has Penn State ranked above Ohio State. I don't see, unless Arch Manning's the guy, I don't see a way Penn State doesn't just win it all this year. Even what they're scheduled to, I mean, their non-conference schedule is a effing joke. They don't even have an FBS team. It's that Oregon-Penn State game, and then Penn State still has Ohio State, which is kind of their kryptonite. They just can't beat them. I don't think last time they beat Ohio State, I think Saquon was there. So if Penn State can, it's not even that Oregon game. Even if they lose against Oregon, it's not that big of a deal. It's that Columbus game. If they lose against Columbus, it's going to be the same old thing you see. Same old thing. But that game, it's at Columbus, November 1st. Not a shut-up game for Penn State. I feel like they're going to win that game. I still think, if I'm a betting man, they're going 11-1. They're beating either Oregon or Ohio State to get there. Now on to the next team, with the coaches poll have it ranked as number 2. My least favorite team, the fucking Suckeyes. Hate these cocksuckers. But they're good. They're good at football. They lost a lot of guys. Again, I think they lost a total of well over 20 guys with either the transfer portal or the NFL draft. They're going to be young. They're probably going to start a freshman quarterback in Sayan, but they're young. And I mean, Ohio, just trust the system if you're the players. If you're the fans, coaches, just trust the system. The system's been working since damn near since I've been alive. I think the only teams I saw where Ohio State wasn't that good was some of those Braxton Miller years when they just weren't ranked, even though Braxton Miller was very good, but those type of teams. I think ever since Grice, they won it all in 2014, they've been good. They've been a powerhouse. And that's not going to change this year. They have two of the best players in college football, in Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. Like I said last episode, Caleb Downs, in my opinion, pound for pound, best college football player in the nation. Jeremiah Smith is by far the best receiver. I think he's the only receiver that is even on the Heisman kind of rankings. But yeah, like I said, they're young. They're going to trust the system. Julian Sayin, as much as I know nothing about him, as much as I want to say he's going to suck, I've seen enough over Ohio State over the last decade, essentially, to know that he's going to be looking incredible. And he's also throwing to not only Jeremiah Smith, but Cornelius Tate. And then they just always replenish, just blue chip recruits constantly. So I don't see a reason why they're not going to be good. Again, their schedule it's not that tough. The big boys aren't all playing each other. There's not one of the big boys that's playing kind of all of the big boys, which is good for the Big Ten, but for trying to decide who's the best team out of the Big Ten, it's going to be a little difficult to decide that. So I'm scared, again, one of these top 5 Big Ten teams are going to be left out, which is going to suck. I don't think they should. Hopefully it's a down year for the Big 12, or ACC is going to have a down year as well, too. That's just Clemson's world right there. That's Clemson's world. They're going to dominate. They might go undefeated in the ACC. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Ohio State, the first game, again, you're going to find out a lot more about Arch Manning and Julian Sayin. I think both the teams are going to be decently even. I think Texas is more talented. But again, you have two quarterbacks that have not played. Arch Manning's played on the big stage, but not as a starter. So, yeah, I mean, I think Ohio State's going to finish the season. They could definitely go 9-3, too. Again, I think Penn State's going to beat them. I think Texas is going to beat them. I think Illinois could beat them, too. Honestly, I think Ohio State misses the college football playoffs. I'm not saying that as a hater. I'm looking at the schedule now. They can't beat They literally cannot beat Michigan. They can't. Like, they actually can't. Like, it's their kryptonite. It's in their head. They're fucked. Last year was the year where they turned that whole rivalry around and they couldn't do it. I don't know how they beat them unless Bryce Underwood is just the worst quarterback on the planet. I mean, if there's anyone that watches this, you could have played football for Michigan and would have done better than fucking whoever the quarterback was. I even forgot his name. I know he survived cancer, so shout out him. He is kind of a badass for that. He is a badass for that. That's awesome, but we didn't have an offense last year. I mean, we threw an interception inside the 5-yard line to fucking Jack Owen for. Like, you just had to toss it over, whatever. But yeah, I think they're going to lose to Texas, they're going to lose to Penn State, and they're either going to lose to Illinois or Michigan. They're going to go 9-3 and miss the playoffs. That's my final prediction on Ohio State. I'm not even trying to be a hater. I'm being very objective with them right now. They're going to lose. They're going to lose. And then lastly, we got the big bad boys of college football. We killed the SEC down in Pasadena 2 years ago. And we've been killing the rest of the Big Time since 2021, essentially. Thank God. I think as much as I hated COVID, I think COVID was the best thing to ever happen to the Michigan Wolverines. Because if COVID didn't happen, we might have finished that year 3-9. That would have been incredibly depressing. Jim Harbaugh would have been fired. It would have set off a chain reaction. Basically, COVID built up Michigan, essentially, which is messed up to say. But again, Michigan's defense is going to be very, very good. Again, we have the Clemson DT transfer, Trey Williams. Alabama DT transfer, Damon Payne. We're going to be good. We got Rod Moore back there, who is one of my favorite players, and he's up there with Julius Peppers for me. I mean, I've seen Rod Moore make play after play after play after play after play. Again, the offense, we got Justice Haynes from Alabama as well, too. Our running game is going to be incredible. I don't have any doubt that Sharon Moore is going to have that offensive line going, as well as just the overall run game. We did get the Indiana transfer as well at receiver McCulley. So our receiving game should be a little better. I know we have our tight end right now who we're not going to be as tight end centric as we were with Loveland. That's because Loveland was kind of the only guy. But as long as two receivers can step up, I mean, our tight ends are still going to be decent. We've had good tight ends since forever in Michigan, starting from, Jake Rudock. No, that's quarterback. Oops. Jake Butt, So, it really just comes down to, I know Dave Portnoy spent all that money on Bryce Underwood. So, he's the best quarterback coming out of high school. If he plays like it, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. Again, kind of the big game. We're going to find out against Oklahoma. Michigan does have not a tough schedule, but a schedule where an 8-4 season isn't shocking, but also where I wouldn't say an undefeated season, but damn near. We could. Michigan, we are a powerhouse program. We could definitely go undefeated again. I see a way. I think we beat Oklahoma. I know they do have John Mateer, and he is really effing good. We got New Mexico. We're going at Oklahoma too. That's actually going to be a really tough game. I know last year we didn't have much luck against Texas in week 2 as well too. But that was a totally different story. We didn't have an offense, and Texas was humming. Yeah, if we can beat Oklahoma, and then we're gonna have that game against Nebraska again. That's a massive program game for Nebraska. It's gonna be at Nebraska as well too. So that place is gonna be buzzing. I'm a Barstool guy, so you got Will Compton on the TV getting the boys hype. It's probably going to be a readout. And then after that, we should beat Wisconsin, USC, Washington, Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland. We should rattle off all those wins. So as long as we come into the Ohio State game with just one loss. Yeah, if we come into the Ohio State game with one loss, we're going to make the playoffs again. Even if we do, that Ohio State game might make a break if we make the playoffs. Because I'm just speaking of the Big Ten right now. I have Illinois 10-2, Oregon at 10-2, Penn State at 11-1, and Ohio State at 9-3. But if they beat Michigan, each team's going to be 10-2. It's kind of just goes on to who you're leaving out, and Michigan just wouldn't have any of those big wins. So I think Michigan's season in terms of making the playoffs might, unfortunately, come down to that. Not unfortunately, because that's kind of the game you want it to come down to, but that Ohio State game. Again, that's the game. That's the game that Michigan's got to look at. yeah, I think they come to that game with 1 loss. I don't know who they're going to lose to, either that's Oklahoma or Nebraska, or just they lose like a fluky game. Even if they come in with two losses, if they come into Columbus, or it's a home game, but if Columbus comes to Ann Arbor with Ann Arbor, Michigan, we got 2 losses, we're making the playoffs. All right, it's just beat Ohio State. We're not walking into that Ohio State game with 3 losses. That's not going to happen unless Bryce Underwood is just not good, and he's a massive bust in terms of high school to college football players. So again, just to be safe, I'll even put them at 10-2/11-1. So I mean, even just looking back at this review, again, I don't see a world where the Big Ten doesn't get at least 4 teams in this year. I believe last year they only got Ohio State. Oh no, they got 4 teams in as well last year too. Let me even look it up. Let me even look up what it was last year. Yeah, we had Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, and yes, Indiana. I don't see a world where the Big Ten doesn't get. With only 12 teams, it's going to be tough because you got to imagine the SEC gets 4 in. They can even squeak in 5. You got the Big 10, the Big 12, the ACC. It is definitely possible that the Big Ten does get 5 teams in, but I think all those teams are going to have to finish 10-2. And Michigan's going to have to beat Ohio State. So, I don't know. Yeah, but like I said, the Big Ten is going to be the best conference team. I know the odds of teams making the playoffs are going to be 4.5. If you're a Big Ten believer like I am, you're going to bet the over on that. And yeah, 5 Big Ten teams in there. If Nebraska could somehow have a crazy season, potentially 6 or 5. If Nebraska has a crazy good season, that means they beat some of these teams in my top 5. But I would suspect it is not a crazy thought to put 5 Big Ten teams in there, but I know the committee is very SEC biased, so that might not work. But yeah, that is going to be my Big Ten review, and we will bring this to an ad, and then we will go over NFL fantasy. All right, well, I forgot it's my 2nd ever episode, and I currently have no ads, so we're going to get right into the NFL world. Now, as I wrote down in my notes, I haven't really looked much, but fantasy football isn't really my go-to. I'm more of a betting guy. In later episodes. The more games I watch, not only does the better the content get, but the more knowledge I actually have about the teams. Because obviously you saw in that college football review, I didn't really know that much jack shit. I was kind of just guessing, even though my predictions are normally pretty right. You see a guy in sunglasses with the trophy on his desk, you know he's probably going to be right about, 60 to 80% of the time. But anyways, looking at the fantasy rankings for quarterbacks, obviously you don't get one of these bad boys till late in the draft. What I would definitely do, though, is a lot of people are going to be high on this guy. Actually, you know what? You know what I'm saying? Out of all these guys, I don't know how. I'm looking on ESPN, by the way, fantasy footballs. I don't know how Justin Fields is ranked 14th overall in fantasy football. I get he's a running quarterback, but above guys like Jordan Love and Jared Goff and CJ Stroud, that's kind of ridiculous to me. I understand he could run the football, but he also plays for a team that's called the New York Jets. And I don't know if you guys know much about the Jets, but they blow. They suck. J.J. McCarthy over Trevor Lawrence is kind of insane to me. Again, Matthew Stafford. Let's lock in, even though Cam Ward's above Michael Penix, which is I agree with, but insane, especially over Geno as well, too. I mean, the top ones, I don't really see any quarterbacks that I would not draft. Again, I think Brock Purdy did just get paid, so I don't think he's going to finish in the top 10. I know a lot of experts have the 49ers finishing last in their division, and if that's the case, Brock Purdy's just not going to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I know they do have Caleb Williams at 12, and I like him. I think Caleb Williams is going to be a fantastic fantasy quarterback this year. I think Ben Johnson's going to do a lot of different things with him, and at that quarterback position, I think you can wait a couple extra rounds and get Caleb Williams and draft better running backs, receivers, what other position that was a need, and you can wait a couple rounds to draft Caleb Williams. Now, on the running back end, I mean, you kind of got your go-tos. I mean, like Gibbs, Saquon, B.J. Robinson. Ashton Genty they have at 4, which is, although he just got second place in the Heisman and is overall hyped up, I don't see why 4 is a little bit too high. I know they're going to use him a lot, and he is a beast. Christian McCaffrey at 5. I feel like this is one of those years where he actually stays healthy and Christian McCaffrey kind of gets back into his form, his top 3 form. Although I know I just dissed Brock Purdy. Anything else I'm seeing right here on it? Kenneth Walker III. I feel like he's gonna have a better fantasy season than 14th that he's ranked. Breece Hall. All right, they got Braylon Allen too, I believe still. Who's Chicago's running back? I think it is DeAndre Swift right now. Again, you just simply look at what Ben Johnson did with the Lions and the production out of those running backs. I think I've always been a big fan of DeAndre Swift. I know a lot of people on the Eagles didn't really like him. I thought he was good on the Lions. I think DeAndre Swift's gonna finish better than what they have him at 20th right now. They have him above David Montgomery, who's a backup running back, and the Lions offense should be a backup running back this year, even though he's a powerhouse, and I love David Montgomery. I cannot believe Chicago gave him to us. But yeah, no, DeAndre Swift, I think he's gonna be, I know he's ranked all the way down as 20. I'm gonna say that's gonna be a steal of the draft for sure. I mean, Chuba Hubbard too at 19, love him, had a good end of the season. But yeah, looking even farther down the list, I don't think, unless you're high up on, because I believe Nick Chubb is no longer a Brown. So I do also like Quinshon Judkins. I feel like people are going to overhype him, though, and bet him. He's currently the 34th ranked one, which is kind of absurd to me. But yeah, him and then Cam Scatterbo are kind of those 2 rookies where take your chance. Take your shot, and I believe both of them are going to work out just fine for both of them. And then on top of that, the rookie running back for the Chargers as well too, Hampton as well too. They have him ranked at 17th. I just believe that's just because he's a rookie, but he's going to end up finishing well above that. I mean, John Harbaugh, the football man himself, wants to run the fucking rock. So get him as well on your fantasy football team, a lot of these guys. I mean, obviously, even with the receiver, a lot of these higher guys like Jamar Chase, Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, they're going to have big years. Again, I think Puka Nakua's numbers are going to go down just with the insertion of Devontae Adams, especially earlier in the season. I feel like they're definitely going to try to, make Adams happy. I know Puka had some stuff going around on the offseason. I don't know how much that impacted him. Losing a woman, especially one that's that much of a scumbag, probably hurts the heart. Malik Neighbors at 5. If you got Neighbors, you better just pray to God that Jameis Winston's starting. If Winston's starting, Malik Neighbors is an instant draft. Amon-Ra St. Brown is always just a go-to. Nico Collins at 7. He's a Michigan man, and he had a great end of the season. I don't see him going into the top 10. I think just with how diverse the Houston receivers are, and I can't hate on my guy like that. I'm not going to hate on my guy like that. Ladd McConkey at 11, love him as well too. Who else? Not high on Tyreek Hill at all this year. I think he's going to be injured or fake injury. He doesn't want to play for Miami. He might give you a couple good games, but he's only going down and down. I mean, he's a speedy guy. He's built his entire career on being the fastest man out on the field, and with more injuries, that as much as it sucks, it's going to take away his speed. And with the speed being gone, Tyreek Hill is going to go down. I would avoid drafting Tyreek Hill this year. I would definitely avoid drafting him. That is 100% a thing. Terry McLaurin, kind of scary to draft, although if you have drafts later on in the season, that'll be fine. Let's see. Chicago, I think I would stay away, although I said Caleb Williams for a fantasy quarterback, I would stay away from drafting any Bears receivers. Not only do they just have, a couple different options they can go to with the Dunze and DJ Moore, but also I feel like if you're going to draft anyone from the Bears besides Swift, I would stick with one of the tight ends for sure. Whatever tight end, Cole Kmet's obviously I feel like you got to draft him. He's got to be one of the first 5 tight ends off the board. Just watching Lions football, seeing Ben Johnson use the tight ends. I think Cole Kmet. I'm about to turn on tight end. I'm about to click on tight ends, but I would be shocked if he's not in the top 5. And then even then at 41, you have Jordan Addison too. I still like Jordan Addison. I like the draft pick. He's only suspended for, I think, 3 games. I still think his value at 41 is a little lower than it should be. Even down the list here, I've been seeing clips. Maybe this is just my Twitter or X, the Everything app, where everything happens. Shout out Elon Musk. Matthew Golden on the Green Bay Packers has just been killing it right now. Just been killing it. And then the last thing I see here is kind of a sleeper because they do still have Goodwin, Chris Goodwin, and Mike Evans still. I think this might be the year where Mike Evans does not get 1,000 yards, as he is just getting older, and I think this is the year Emeka Egbuka kind of emerges as... I mean, Mike Evans is still going to be that number 1 receiver, but I think it's that year where Emeka Egbuka becomes the best receiver, if that makes sense. So, Emeka Egbuka is going to be the best receiver on that team, although Mike Evans still might just be the number 1 option, when games get tight, and the bigger games, just because he is still, Mike freaking Evans. So, other than that, receivers, I'm not really looking at much. I know I'm not going that in-depth, but this is just a little fantasy thing that I'm looking. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to have a better season than last year, just statistically speaking. And then we'll head over the tight ends. I really, really hope that Cole Kmet's right there. And let's see, it takes a while. I got bad Wi-Fi. All right, I'm paying $84 on Spectrum for this shitty fucking Wi-Fi, and it doesn't load for me. Cole Kmet that's insane. I don't even see him right now. Where's Cole Kmet? What? Colston Loveland is above Cole Kmet? There's no way. All right, so right now on the tight end rankings, Cole Kmet's not even on this list. He's not even in the top 25. I think this list is wrong. They do have Colston Loveland at 12. I'm assuming that's because Cole Kmet maybe that's what they meant for Cole Kmet. Does Cole Kmet play for the Bears? Am I stupid? There's no way. The Z-Walker, there's just no way. Cole Kmet, football tight end. Did he get injured? After injury scare. This is not good, guys. This is not good. I've been hyping him up. If I give I'm basically like Jerry O'Connell if I think he's that good. Emerges, suffered an undisclosed injury. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, he left yesterday. Come on. See, I'm not in the football mode yet. These are just the first couple episodes of the Z-Watch show. And Z-Watch, I had not come to a show prepared. These sheets right here, you can see freaking, if I can even grab it, you can just see, basically Indiana, and I wrote down, one note. All right, this is uncensored. This is unprepared. This is why last episode, although I beat my highest viewers of 0, this is why I had 1 viewer in my last episode. Now, was it me listening to it while I cooked chicken? Maybe. Who knows? We don't know. There's no way for you to prove that because you're not fucking watching. So guess what? It wasn't me. They don't count my viewers. I had 1 viewer on YouTube, and I want to thank you. Thank you. I'm going to give him a pat on the back. I'm going to thank the guy who watches my show. All right, yeah, Cole Kmet injury, that's not good. That is not good at all. But anyways, even if Cole Kmet is injured, out for the season, I'm telling you guys right now, a lot of people were hating because what the Penn State freaking tight end, why did I forget his name? He wore 44. He was an absolute stud for Penn State. There is no way. Colston Loveland's going to be the best tight end in that draft. I promise you right now. Watching Michigan, that guy was an absolute monster. A monster. He was legit the only weapon Michigan had. Everyone knew the ball was going to him. And although their offense sucks, so technically they did stop him. You're not stopping him longer than that. You're just not going to do that. Green Bay, Tucker Kraft, saw tough. Yeah, no, Tucker Kraft, great guy. Met him once, probably doesn't remember me. Met him in my buddy's basement at a party. Good guy. Great guy. Big guy, too. Honestly, Tucker Kraft was, besides Tyler Hero, Tucker Kraft was like the first football guy I saw, which made me realize that I just had no chance at making a league. Like, none at all. Like, just, like, I'm a short guy. And looking up at him, I'm like, there is just, yeah. Like, I had to be wicked fast. I'm fast, but I'm not fast like that. I mean, look at it, the other tight ends, Brock Bowers, yes. Kyle Pitts is looking at me like Jennifer Aniston right now. I'm not gonna lie. Kyle Pitts, you might have to dabble in. Honestly, he's ranked at 17. I think for the 17th tight end, he's great value at 17. He's great value at 17. Is he good value in the first 6 rounds? Absolutely not. Avoid him at all costs. Let's see what else. Travis Kelce, I feel like he's just going to have a down year fantasy-wise. I mean, he's still going to be one of the best tight ends in the league, but he's old. He's good. Sam Laporta is not going to have as great of a season as he did last year. Statistically, he's still going to be up there. I had Trey McBride last year. Again, going to be another stud season for him. Tyler Warren, that was the guy I was thinking about in Indiana. I think it was kind of that Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren thing, and I think Tyler Warren, Indiana's going to have no offense besides Jonathan Taylor. None at all. So I would not be surprised if you see Tyler Warren getting some passing stats, some rushing stats as well too. I think he's good value. Again, I wouldn't overestimate his value. If you're going to draft Tyler Warren, I would definitely draft another solid tight end like an Evan Ingram out of Denver. Even just, a solid guy like Kraft. Just someone a little bit above him, or I definitely make sure you have 2 very good tight ends. I wouldn't draft him early thinking he's going to work out and then draft some like lower end tight end. Like, I don't know, you thinking just like getting Zach Ertz from Washington or something like that, who's very good, very productive still. But if you're going to draft a guy like Tyler Warren, kind of a long shot, even of rookies like Colson Loveland, I would still recommend drafting, someone good as well too. I would have 2 really good tight ends on your roster and then end up just trading one later on, or maybe using 2 tight ends, in the same in the same week occasionally. But because if Tyler Warren doesn't work out, then you're screwed in terms of tight ends. But that is kind of a little bit. I guess I could look at defense as well too. I'm not gonna look at kickers because who cares? Just get a different kicker every single week. Just pick the team that I think can't score a touchdown. That's all you have to do, or a team that scores a bunch. That's how you gotta pick the kickers. All right, doesn't really matter who the kicker is. I guess it does, but they're psychos. They're kickers. You're just praying for 5 to 10 points for them. All right. Defense, special teams. Again, I don't know much about the defense. I'm trying to see if there's a defense that stands out. Obviously, Texans at 1 is kind of shocking to me. I guess maybe not. Kind of a team that forces a lot of turnovers. I think Eagles defense at 4. The only reason I would avoid taking the Eagles defense, even though just looking at the roster, they're one that you can just looking at the roster, they're a top 5 defense. I think just the Super Bowl hangover is going to get to them a little bit, and they are going to let up more points than they're not going to be fantasy football wise a top 5 defense. I should say maybe later on in the season, but right away, they're not going to produce the points that you need them to. But then again, it is just defense, so you can take them and just know they're going to get better throughout the season. But just know right away, if you're going to draft the Eagles defense, you're sticking with the Eagles defense. You're not going to get rid of them after, the first 4 weeks where they're probably going to go 2-2. Honestly, they're going to have a Super Bowl hangover. It's just what's going to happen. It happens to every team. It's going to happen to them. It's not going to be a big deal. They're going to be calling for Nick Sirianni's head. But that's Philadelphia fans. They freaking suck anyways. But that's basically it on the fantasy football a little bit. Honestly, I haven't been preparing for a draft at all. Haven't done anything in terms of fantasy football. I know my one roommate's having a draft right now. But and then I guess lastly, I did just go see Naked Gun. In terms of movie, I know last time I talked about the Marvel movie, Fantastic Four, Superman a little bit, which again, great movies, excited for the next Marvel movies, especially Spider-Man next week. But Naked Gun, good movie. It's a funny movie. Naked Gun is actually a very funny movie. I know the reviews were like 3.4. I thought whoever didn't like the movie probably was expecting like a good movie, like an actual, like an Oppenheimer good movie. If that's what you're looking for, like in terms of editing, choreography, a good plot, no, it's not one of those movies. It's one of those movies, you know, you get home from the bar and you don't fall asleep and you turn on a movie. It's one of those movies where you smoke pot with your friends and you watch it. It's one of those. It's hilarious. It's a very funny movie. It's a perfect streaming movie. I said this last night. It's not a movie theater movie. It's a good streaming movie. It's a movie you could turn on and not really pay that much attention to. Literally, the thing they're trying to get is called a plot. It's called a plot device. Like, it's kind of irony in how some shitty movies are made, essentially. It's actually really hilarious. I do highly recommend watching Naked Gun. At the beginning, you're going to be like, this is stupid. But there's just some, like, get you comedy that's just so funny. It's funny. It's good. It's good. Have a sense of humor in it, and you'll enjoy the movie. But, yeah, I believe that is all for episode 2, and that concludes this day's work of the Z-Watch Show. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and have a good rest of your weekend.